area, Peru, which is a place that is mostly known for its coca production, um, which is pretty wild. Uh, Downtown the other day, I found an entire block where people had like 25-pound bags of coca, and it occurred to me that nobody is buying that kind of quantity to chew. So, Wild West, Indian mountains. But a few things have happened over the last week or so that have really increased my confidence in certain intuitions. Um, One of those things you can actually watch. Um, what is it called? The Higher Self sequel video. Sorry if this is shaky, but I'm having to hold it. uh, I was talking about the power of the subconscious to map patterns, and I demonstrated um, by giving the day of the week for it was January 23rd, 1922, off the top of my head. And it was accurate. Uh, and the reason that you can do that is that the subconscious mind maps patterns. And, it's not just me. There are lots of like autistic people and various savants that can do that, and all sorts of other things. And that is the reason. But the really important utility of that is that you can invert it. And because it is the same laws that govern the past, the future is going to adhere to that same pattern. A great example is the fact that we're in the middle of a psychedelic renaissance. There's racial tensions in the United States, war brewing all over the world, and there's a Kennedy running for president. Down to the finest details, it's the same pattern. By the way, if you guys are curious what I really think about all this, the unfiltered version, got to join my Patreon because there are some things that I just won't say on the public streams. Um, there's an old African proverb that he who speaks the truth has few friends. So I do filter myself uh, on these streams. But the important thing, I think, is that I have really decided to kind of commit to it's not really just an intuition. I mean, there's a lot of evidence and reasons um, to think this, but I think it's really important that all of us that are kind of in the know and awake and aware really start taking the possibility that we're actually watching the fall of modern civilization seriously. And the upside of that is that if we commit to doing all of the things that would allow us to prepare for it, and it doesn't happen, we should all be doing these things anyways, you know? And basically, it entails building yourself up financially as rapidly as possible and cultivating your intuition um, to the greatest extent possible. And a big part of that is managing your, emotional or energetic state. So, fear is an interference pattern. You want to use breath work and whatever it is that whatever works for you to maintain that clarity, stillness, and really cultivating objectivity. Because I think one of the hardest things about being highly intuitive is that you can kind of pick and choose what you believe is an intuition. In fact, also for my patrons tomorrow, I'm going to give some very helpful advice along the lines of how to discern whether intuitions are legitimate or wish demons or paranoia. Um, but, another detail that I guess is relevant, there's this prophecy. I can't even remember where it came from. I think it was Rolling Thunder, who was a medicine man that cured Jerry Garcia in like 1966. And it's really interesting because they say he just showed up at the house. The dead were not famous yet. It's like 66 or 67. And he was looking for Garcia. And he told him, "You are going to basically be the leader of these rainbow people that are going to be instrumental in changing the consciousness and preparing for this transition. And that definitely came true. He also told them that it would end on July 9th, and the last Grateful Dead concert was on July 9th, 1995. So I'm pretty sure this was part of his speech that he gave these hippies. But the story is that the rainbow people, the people that are awake and aware and conscious, are going to sense that World War III is about to break out, and they're going to head up into the high places where it's safe. So, like the Colorado Rockies and the Andean Mountains. And I guess what happened is I was, thinking about how accurate my precognitions and intuition has been over the years. And then I saw a bunch of stuff online, China flexing, South Korea threatening, and it just kind of hit me, that what I was doing, compelled almost entirely by intuition, just heading up into the Andean Mountains, is totally consistent with this whole story. And, there are a lot of other interesting elements. I had a sort of alien contact experience when I was like 20 years old, 21 maybe. And I was told that they would make their presence known right at the last minute because you don't interfere with the development of a species until they're like, on the brink of destroying themselves. And not just humans, but the entire ecosystem. The way they explained it to me is that the planets that sustain life are basically like cells in a giant organism. So it's not even that they're so much interested in saving humanity. It's the entire planet that they're concerned with. And they said they would intervene at the last moment. And so here we have this closure maybe happening. And I know a lot of people are suspicious that it's a trick, but I do think it's interesting to note that it's very consistent with what I was told 20 years ago. That, when we're on the brink of World War III and our destruction and enslavement maybe seems imminent, they would come down and intervene. It's also interesting to me, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there are videos of these UFOs hitting the water at tremendous speed and not slowing down. To put that in perspective, if you are 2 feet away from me underwater and I shoot you with a 50 caliber handgun, you can catch the bullet. Like, that's how much resistance is created by water. So I'm not sure exactly what that says about these things, but it's a pretty remarkable phenomena. And there are videotapes of this happening. So pretty wild stuff. I think also the advent of apparent alien intelligence on this planet coinciding with artificial intelligence, that's very much consistent with this sort of higher order symmetry that I talk about a lot, that I believe is responsible for synchronicities. And in fact, a few years ago, I predicted that we would experience synchronicities of that nature, these kind of symmetries on a collective scale, as the human race was sort of awakening, I guess. That's one of the things that gives us hope, I suppose, and also a sense of responsibility, because this type of occult knowledge is definitely accurate. The idea that there are perfectly balanced antinomies, opposites, interacting to create the universe, and the Fibonacci sequence and DNA. I talk about how it's all a process of replication by means of reflection, and you look at the Fibonacci sequence going back and copying, and then going forward, and as it goes, the numbers get bigger, which implies that the pattern is staying the same, but the magnitude is greater and greater. So we can expect a repeat of history, but on a much grander level. So, the main bullet point, I guess, of this presentation is that I think that we all know that something massive is coming, but I think we all kind of cling to hope that it'll all just kind of blow over. I don't know that that's wise at this point. I don't think it's possible that it can just blow over. And also, if it's true that opposites generate each other, which I think the moment that we live in demonstrates pretty clearly. You know, we have all these tremendous advances in technology, all of this brilliant innovation and illumination than probably ever before in human history, even by ratio. But then we also have flat Earth and all sorts of other dumb fuckery that is just exploding. See what I'm saying? For every person that becomes illuminated, there is a counterbalance of complete idiocy. And that applies to every single phenomena in the universe. So I don't really think that there can be a winner. You know, the light's not coming out on top, neither is the darkness. The universe is an equation balancing to zero. And so our role is to play a role, you know, to understand what's happening on the grand scheme and then choose a position relative to that fundamental process. So, for my part, right now, I'm really trying to consolidate my forces. I have some strategies that I think will really allow us to rapidly build wealth. In fact, I tested one this week, and I really regretting not putting money on it, even just a little bit, because there was a 35,000% gain in 6 days. And that's actually, interestingly enough, one of the last messages that I got from Pachamama when I drank ayahuasca, that the people that are awake and aware have to take responsibility and rapidly to shift the balance of power by acquiring as much wealth as possible as fast as possible. You know, and a lot of spiritual people don't really like the idea of needing to do that. But the reality is that many of the conditions of this world are dictated to us and not by us. And so, you know, wealth is power. And we have a tiny window where we actually can um, potentially redistribute some of that wealth. But we have to act quickly and with concision and confidence. Um, and if you want to know the full story, got to join my Patreon. But I will tell you it has something to do with AI and cryptocurrency. But pretty sure it's foolproof. And we're all going to be doing it. Um, so that's tremendously important. Uh, so really, I mean, that's the thing. You know, I just felt compelled to jump on here and kind of encourage everyone to let go of fear, um, but also to confront what the evidence is suggesting. I don't think the people that have control of the show are just gonna like quit or allow themselves to be replaced. So if there's going to be a transition, a transformation, a revolution, it's not going to be smooth. You know, it's going to require a massive reduction of population, which is something that they seem to be working on. But I think, you know, you guys probably all know the cities are out of control, crime is exploding, you know, people are being overwhelmed and overrun in the cities by thieves, and it's not going to be long before it's just complete chaos and disorder. And so this window that we have before the shit really and truly hits the fan, we have to find ways to make ourselves more powerful. You know, another thing that gave me some confidence that what I'm doing has substance, the message that I'm offering is true. Um, I got suspended from YouTube a couple of, I guess, months ago now for typing the word wigger, even though I used dollar signs for the G's and an at sign for the A. And then I saw a white guy with a MAGA hat drop in bombs like 8 times in a minute. Millions of views. So if I'm not saying something that's, you know, relevant somehow, why are they so much more strict with my content? Another one, I got suspended for posting just a video of picking a mushroom. You guys can look all over YouTube. There's people growing mushrooms, teaching people how to grow mushrooms, eating mushrooms. Um, so, yeah, that's another bit of evidence, I think, that they're definitely scrutinizing and kind of limiting um, my ability to reach people. So, I feel like there was another element to this that was really important. But yeah, I mean, not a long stream tonight. I just felt almost a responsibility when it really hit me, that World War III is probably inevitable. And the best case scenario is that the people that aren't reachable, that are not going to wake up, they're not going to change, they're not redeemable. I saw a video today actually of a UFC fighter talking in Canada, and he said, "I'm not here to chase Nike endorsements, but I do care about your freedom." And people started booing a little bit, and then he said, "And I care about your free speech," and like 75% of the crowd roared with boos. You guys, it's gotten to that point. Like, that is legitimately terrifying. So I'm not trying to be callous. I'm trying to be objective. And if you think of the earth as sort of having an immune system, when your body targets bacteria that threaten it, it's totally objective about managing that environment. And so I think we need to kind of set aside our feelings about it and seek just objective understanding of what needs to happen in this process, what's going to happen. And so um, I believe that if you are in tune and aware, especially if you are using psychedelics and plant medicine correctly, meditation, um, ritual magic, whatever it is, to enhance and strengthen the communication between the subconscious and conscious mind, keeping yourself clear and calm, um, you'll find yourself in the right place at the right time. You will be able to um, rise above all the dirt and grime by adding the right spice at the right time, and you'll have it, and you'll be in that position. But I think we all really need to make sure we are as committed as we possibly can be um, to empowering ourselves and other people like us around us. Because with the 2024 election right around the corner and all the other shit that's happening in the world, shit's gonna hit the fan. There's no question. Absolutely no question. So, we need to not be afraid, but we need to be realistic and prepare, you know? And I think we should be excited because it's all just a show. And chances are overwhelmingly in favor of consciousness being eternal, right? It seems almost certain that consciousness arises from light, photons are eternal, you know, um, pretty ephemeral, really. They have mass, they have no mass, but they have momentum, and that's like wild. Um, Another interesting thing I've been thinking about a lot lately too is the fact that energy doesn't really even exist. If you look up the scientific definition for energy, it's just the ability to do work. So I think we all kind of imagine that energy is like this substance that makes up the universe, but there's actually nothing there. And I just randomly heard this French physicist talking about this today, and he said it's as if God just assumed that humans were too dumb to get past the atom, and so didn't bother to fill in those details. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing but tendencies. It's like the subatomic particles that we all think make up reality are really just programming. And so, you know, it's all just a show, and we're here for the experience. So no matter what happens, we should be excited about the novelty of it, the uniqueness of it, the intensity of it. You know, ride the spiral to the end. We just may go where no one's been. Um, Pretty much a guarantee. So stay strong out there. Join my Patreon, or there are ways to support the channel in the description. Hopefully, I put them. Um, and I just wanted to pop on and encourage everybody to take this all seriously. Keep cultivating your intuition, pursue knowledge and self improvement, find ways to empower yourself financially, and start looking for locations where we can all gather. And it seems to me that people are kind of drifting to those places, um, just organically. So, um, yeah, just have confidence. If you're in the flow, you can't really make an incorrect decision. Things will find a way to support you. Remember that pronoia is much more helpful than paranoia, the belief that the universe is conspiring to help you rather than harm you. So, um, might stream again tomorrow, but I'm going to cut it there. And for my patrons, I'll see you guys